right in, there's always room for another.
Hey guys, welcome to Turn2, a Hearthstone podcast with Doa and Artosis. We have some awesome guests today, one of which will only be on for a short time, so let's get through the intros quickly so we can get into the talking. So, first of all, welcome to the show, Total Biscuit. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad. I'm not sure why you dragged me onto this thing. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I don't know. We heard you like this game, and you like to talk, and apparently you like StarCraft 2 as well, so repping the hat. That's good. I like
Bit
that.
of a dead game, but it's okay.
Pretty much.
Well, all right. Well, Dan, how are
Yes.
you? What do you think about Total Biscuit's comment here?
Off that game, no problem. We're
getting
talking
on
about
track
Hearthstone
already.
Day. I'm excited. Let's get it going, Doa.
All right, sounds good. And last but certainly not least, from Blizzard itself, we've got the lead game developer for Hearthstone, Eric Dodds. How's it going?
It's doing fantastic. Awesome to be here.
Great. Well, I wanted to talk about game balance, about kind of the, what the hot topic is right now. Everybody wants to
Yep.
get right into that. So without further ado, the burning question in everybody's minds right now are rogues. So let's just get into it. Let's talk about rogues. So they seem really dominant in Arena. They seem very good and constructed as well. What does Blizzard think about rogues right now?
Rogues are definitely on the strong side. We are looking at a lot of metrics internally and, of course, listening to a lot of the people externally. And they're too strong, frankly. So we are definitely going to be making changes in the future on a variety of areas for the rogue to bring them into line with the other classes.
Okay. Now, if in terms of like the strength right now, there's kind of a few different ways that they look a little bit too strong. I feel like for me, a lot of it is the card efficiency. They seem to be able to get more done with less mana than a lot of other classes, and also the combo system seems a little bit too strong. Like, can you give us any sort of specifics about like what you're gonna kind of target with that?
Sure. I mean, we're not planning on changing the combo mechanic as a whole. I mean, that's kind of one of the things, or the thing that makes Rogue special. So what you could expect to see is targeting specific cards that are looking a little bit too strong in the format. So, for instance, I think the thing that you will all expect to hear me say, and I will in fact say it, is that the Defias Ringleader is not going to survive in his current exact stats.
But this is our town, Scrub. Even B.
It will still be
well.
his town, but not quite as much his town, I think.
Oh,
Like this is
Thank
this
you
is
so
my
much.
block, Scrub. We'll downgrade a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's go to the other side then with that. Now, conversely, a lot of people are kind of saying warriors and priests are kind of on the weak side with that, especially when it comes to the hero ability specifically for both of these classes. What do you think about those two classes? Do you think they could use some buffs and kind of beyond that too? When you're balancing a game like Hearthstone, what does the team think? Is it better to buff things, or is it better to nerf things? Like, what's the philosophy there?
It's always a very tactical thing, right? You look at the classes as a whole and you decide, hey, it's better to buff this specific thing or nerf this specific thing, and it's just a case-by-case basis. So certainly in the case of priests specifically, they are, as you are guessing or presuming or whatever, on the weak side, and they're definitely a class that we're looking at increasing. And I mean, there's a couple of issues with priests. You can certainly look at priests and think they don't have the ability to deal with mid-game problems. Early game they sort of do okay, and late game mind control really can turn things around. But turn 4 or 5, if you don't have some decent answers of priest, you can get into trouble really fast. And so we're certainly going to be looking at that sort of area of the priest, and we're still playing with it. I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly what we're doing because there's a lot of changes going on and a lot of choices being made and discussion about exactly what we should do, but that's the sort of thing you should expect. I mean, as you might expect with a game where it's based on World of Warcraft, so each of the specific classes has to both represent sort of that World of Warcraft class and be awesome in its own right mechanically. That's where you'd see the priest heal, for instance. You say maybe it's a little bit on the weak side. We definitely need to represent World of Warcraft, and we just need to make sure that we have cards and mechanics that really support that hero power that really makes it step up into its own, which I think we can do with the priest.
I feel like we've really gone back to like the vanilla World of Warcraft style, where like rogues are really strong and like priests and warriors a little bit. So that I do get that feeling definitely when I'm playing. So
Yeah,
So
well-
like, oh, go ahead.
No. All you.
All right. Well, with Warriors, I want to touch on those real quick too. It seemed like the intent with Warrior was to kind of create a class that would be doing more attacking with the hero itself, with all the armor mechanics, with all the weapons and things like that. But yet, the Warrior still seems to be a little bit, weak as far as not being able to take as much damage as you will take when you're doing all that attacking. Do you think the issue with the Warrior is maybe the class mechanics with armor? Or the other thing that I kind of always thought about with Warrior is that there's all these enraged mechanics where you hurt your creatures to buff them, but it seems like their health is like 1 too low to make that really work, to make them, to hurt them but not make them too vulnerable to very accessible board control, I guess you could say.
Sure, and I guess I can talk about it on a couple of different axes. I mean, one of them is that in earlier alphas that, of course, you guys didn't see, but we played a lot of, the Warrior was actually one of the strongest classes, and all it takes is the change of a couple numbers here or there, and actually that's one of the things that we're making sure that we adjust accordingly, because it's really easy for us to go, bump this one, bump this one, bump this one, and oh my god, the Warrior is just ruining everybody, because the weapons are really a strong mechanic. Specifically to the enrage mechanic, I mean, we took a step back sort of and looked at the Warriors in a whole and said, on a larger scale, Warriors have a lot of cards that are effective once you sort of have your thing going, like the enrage mechanic, and you whirlwind, and once you're rolling on that, you're looking awesome. But if it sort of fizzles out and you're in top decking mode, you don't have a lot of places to go. You draw some of those cards and you go, this just isn't taking me anywhere by itself. Yeah. So we're looking at a few of those cards and trying to make them a little bit more broadly applicable. So if you draw it late game, it's not looking like such a weak card. And we're also looking to give them a little bit more card draw, because you look at some of the other classes and their card draw is reasonably strong, and Warriors have some issues in that area. So those are the sorts of things you can expect. Again, we're still monkeying with the numbers and trying to get it just right, so we don't have specifics for you. But that's sort of the things you can see from Warrior specifically.
Cool. Well, I've talked way too much. Artosis, Total Biscuit, what do you want to say?
I got to jump in with one real quick. I'm very interested in this. What are the plans for expansion packs? Like, how many a year? How big are they going to be? Any idea in that range?
At this point, we're really just focusing on getting the game out, and we sort of have some fuzzy ideas, but I wouldn't even want to speculate at this point or throw them out there, because frankly, they're not the sort of things that are likely to survive once we get to post-ship. So we're going to get the game out, we're going to make it as awesome as we can, and then we're going to see how the expansion thing rolls out. And of course, we will be adding more cards. I mean, there's no question about that. It's just exactly how. We don't have our plans all set in stone, and so not ready to share them quite yet.
All right, I'll let you off on that.
I'm interested in asking something a little bit different as opposed to asking about future content, because obviously you guys are still working on the beta right now. What I'm interested to know is, obviously, Hearthstone does to some degree wear its influence from the WoW TCG on its sleeve, and rightfully so. And it even uses some of the same card art as well. So, and it's great. Since I used to play WoW TCG, it's a nice big nostalgia hit for me. What I'm interested in knowing is why some of the more interesting mechanics, such as quests, were, say, stripped out of the game in favor of what you've got now. And I'd like to just kind of know the development logic behind that.
Well, I can talk, I guess, on a larger scale about whether or not we had a resource mechanic where you had to put something out of your hand and put it into play. You know, you can look at the WoW TCG or Magic, or really a lot of those games have that sort of mechanic. And the reason why we stepped away from that and used the increasing mana resource mechanic was a few things. I mean, the first thing was obviously speed. We wanted the game to be able to be played in a short period of time, which is especially important when you start talking about iPad, which is very important to us. But actually, another equally important reason to us to not have I play a resource out of my hand mechanic, that I play it onto the table, is because either you can get in a situation where you don't have that resource, or you can get into a situation where, if you're talking about the WoW TCG, where you're taking a card that you love, you're like, okay, I've got these two great cards in my hand. Mm-hmm. Which of these awesome cards am I going to throw away? And so it's a choice that takes a while to make, which slows down the game, but also feels actually pretty bad to make. So we wanted to make it that on your turn, you're freaking kicking ass. And I mean, I think that we were pretty successful on a larger scale about doing that, whereas very often at the end of your turn, it looks like there's no way the opponent's going to come back, and at the start of your turn, your plans are in shambles, and then you're getting to do all awesome stuff. So really, we're focusing on making your turn awesome like that, and so that played into it as well as to why we had the mana ramp mechanic.
Cool. Yeah, I actually really like the way that mana works in Hearthstone. I mean, after playing Magic for 18 years and getting like mana screwed thousands of times over those years,
more than thousands, though.
Oh yeah, probably millions for me. I don't know, but it's so nice to just know that I'm gonna have like a little bit more mana each turn, and then I can just play my spells. I don't need to worry about that part of the game. It's great.
To me, I played a lot of Shadow Era, which is the exact opposite, because you have to sack a card every single turn to actually get mana. It is very painful.
Yeah, I mean, and some of it was also building towards that awesome crescendo. It's like 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, and by the time you get to 6 or 7 mana, terrible things are going to be happening to you, and you're going to be doing terrible things to the opponent. So it has this great speed ramp and this great pacing that we feel really plays out pretty well.
I feel like it does a good job of giving people a chance to come back too, in games as well if they get farther behind. I feel like with this game specifically, out of a lot of CCGs, and I've played tons of them, there's a lot more potential to come back in this game, even if you're pretty far behind, which is kind of neat to see.
Yeah, and even with the mana ramp, another thing it does along those lines is it means that the game's frankly going to end. It's not going to go, hey, we're kind of stalled out. Usually the game ends, okay, I'm getting more and more mana, I'm going to drop giant stuff on the table. If you can't deal with it, we're going to end this thing. We're not going to draw it out over a long period of time.
I have a question about like the possibility of team games or free-for-alls or anything like that. Are you guys thinking about ever adding something like that in? It seems like it would be really hard to balance that correctly with that's my guess, is that would be quite difficult with this set of cards, but obviously it would be really fun to be able to do that. Is that something that's being talked about, or?
Of course we've talked about it. I mean, team games would be super cool. It's just that we're really focused on getting this awesome one-on-one experience out there, and we're a reasonably small team, so we can't do everything we'd like to. It's actually one of the cool things, though, that we have moving forward once we launch, is that we're going to get out there, and then the players are going to tell us, hey, this is the thing that's really important to us. And it could be, hey, we really want this to be an esport, or hey, we really want team games, or, heck, I don't know what people are going to want, but they're going to want something. And so we're going to get to take this game in a sort of dynamic direction once we get out there. So we have no plans to do team games or anything like that for SHIP. And anything could happen in the future. I can't say, but it certainly would be awesome if we could do that.
I've got a question about the kind of statistics that are available to players, i.e., well, there aren't really a lot of them. And I've got to ask, was it deliberate to, say, hide losses from the players in a similar way to the fairly recent change to StarCraft 2, or is it just something you haven't got around to adding yet, a more detailed set of statistics as to which decks you're best at, how well a particular deck performs, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, adding statistics, there's a few things that are factoring into this. One of the things is that we're trying to keep the user interface pretty straightforward, pretty simple, so that you can get right into it. It's easy to make a UI that's filled with tons of additional stuff. That being said, adding additional statistics is something that I think we'd like to do in the future. That's something that I'd say we're very likely to do at some point. I just can't say exactly when. So it's just one of those things that we don't want to just throw stuff in there without having spent a lot of time making sure it's just right. That's the sort of thing that you can expect to be coming. It's just a question of when. And some of that depends on when all of these other features that people are excited about, are you pushing for that? Are you pushing for this? And whatever is pushing for, is going to affect when all this other stuff comes out. So,
speaking of things that are being pushed for, is there going to be a spectator mode? Will there be a spectator mode? Would it be during the beta? And with the spectator mode, would there be any kind of push towards an esporty type thing with Hearthstone?
Yeah, that's speaking directly to the esport thing, and it's something that, my goodness, we're excited about the possibilities for, and we were sort of blown away actually by the sort of thing you guys have been doing, in that we put it out there and we didn't expect at all the huge number of games that were going to be ended up streaming and how popular those were going to be to watch. And we sort of knew it was kind of fun to watch around the office. And we had some internal tournaments that were fun to watch, but we were kind of blown away. So it's kind of awesome in that direction. And it sort of leads us to think that, hey, the esport direction is something that we could possibly do. But it sort of pulls back to what I was talking about before, which is what do people really want out of Hearthstone is going to determine sort of the direction we go next. So I'd love to see more esports stuff. I'd love to do more esport. I think it has a real possibility there, but it's not something that we can really commit to at this time because we don't know sort of what this beast is going to turn out to be. I sure hope it's going to be an esport, but we'll see.
Makes sense. I want to touch on Arena really quick because we've only got a few minutes left here. And right now, I mean, a lot of people are loving the Arena. There's some streamers that only stream Arena and all that. There's criticisms as well with it that the card selections tend to be too random for something that people are putting, you know, real money into. They want to have a more even chance. Like, what do you think about Arena right now in general? Like, how is it going? Do you see a way to maybe reduce a little bit of that randomness? What do you think?
I love how Arena is going right now. I mean, I certainly love to play Arena, and I don't think right now we're planning on reducing that randomness very much. I mean, to me, some of the joy of Arena is that anything could happen. I could go into the Arena and, wow, I got 5 fireballs in this deck. That's ridiculous. I mean, and in some ways, that's even more ridiculous than somebody getting multiple legendaries. I think it's arguable that could be more a powerful deck, and you're like, I'm ruining everybody. And then you run into somebody who has 5 fairy dragons in their deck and drops them in the first 3 or 4 turns, and then
and then backstabs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there definitely is a strong element of skill, and you'll certainly see the people who are good winning repeatedly, sort of regardless of what they draft. So I feel like the randomness in some ways helps show off that skill. I mean, here's a situation I never would have dreamed of being in. I mean, heck, I was playing earlier today, and I've got a deck with 3 imps out, and all of my guys are getting, you know, +3 health, and then suddenly a lucky multi-shot takes out half of them, and it's just, you don't know what's going to happen, and you get into situations you wouldn't see in a normal game, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I couldn't agree more with that. That's
it is a lot of fun.
Part of it.
And I absolutely have no concern that the randomness that we have takes away from the skill. I think it's maybe it does enhance the skill, but I certainly think skill is the most important part of playing a successful Arena run.
I agree. I think it's a really good kind of basic mechanics and decision-making tutor, too, for new players as well. They really have to think critically every turn about what they're going to do and kind of what cards they pick before they play and all that. So yeah, I think it's a great tool for new players as well to kind of learn how to play the game well, too. But it looks like we are out of time. We've hit the mark. So I guess, do you have any sort of parting message for the fans or anything like that?
Just that it's been so exciting to get the game out there and having all the overwhelming feedback from it, both positive and all of the suggestions, because we're certainly listening to all of that. So thank you so much, and thank you guys for streaming it. It's kind of blown my mind how excited everybody is about watching you and all of the other streamers just play the game. And yeah, that's what I got. Thank you so much. It's awesome.
Cool. Thank you very much for coming on. It has been a pleasure. I think we've learned a lot about the direction.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks a ton for coming on. It's a great game so far. It's only going to get better from here. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break while we swap around the guests a little bit. And when we come back, Wolf will be joining us and much, much more Hearthstone conversation. So we'll be back in just a few.
Hey guys, welcome back to Turn2, a podcast about Hearthstone. We just had a lot of fun with Eric Dodds. But before we begin the next part, I just want to give a quick shout out to Day9. He's doing the daily, so you can check that out at Day9 TV, I believe it is, on Twitch. Didn't mean to overlap today, but go give that a check out if you want to learn about StarCraft. Anyways, we have our new guest here, Wolf. How are you doing, Wolf?
I'm great. I've spent the past few days, and actually the past few weeks ever since the beta came out, just playing Hearthstone like all day, every day. So
I notice every time I log on, you are logged on.
I'm always on, man.
What are you playing right now? What classes are you playing?
I'm actually playing Shaman mostly still. And like every now and then I play that Miracle Rogue deck that just is fun to play, but will probably be nerfed so crazily. Especially after what I heard Eric say earlier. I think
Yeah.
that it's not going to be so strong coming up in the future.
It's gotta happen, man. It's gotta
It's
happen.
inevitable.
Speaking of which, Total Biscuit, what do you like to play for Hearthstone?
I primarily Hunter's the one that I've had the most success with, and generally I'll have a decent amount of luck drafting that. But I like to play Warlock the most. I'm just awful at it and consistently kill myself.
Warlock is hard, man.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
I tried
I
putting
was
together a
actually-
deck which had mostly just Warlock stuff in it, and it kills itself by like turn 4. It's really silly. You just pull out a Pit Lord early, and then they smack it or silence it or just annihilate it, and it's misery. That's why it's such a complete misery.
Well, it's like you
I
have a
remember
slow
this.
first 3 turns, and then they've got you down to like 18 health, and you've got just 2 Pit Lords in your hand, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
like-
man. It's
But if you can
Like
survive till turn 9, they face Jiraxxus, Eridar, Lord of the Burning Legion. So then it
true.
starts to get a little...
then you just
That's where it
spam
starts to get strong.
mistake over and over again.
Jiraxxus is sorry. It's brilliant.
Oblivion.
I love it.
Sickest strat. I actually was thinking of this morning. Wait till turn 10 for Draxus and save your coin. People think Defias is broken. Wait till you do Draxus and make the infernal thing.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty
Right.
sickening.
I like that.
That sounds very scary.
I can't
is.
ever imagine holding my coin till turn 10, though. I would lose my mind.
No.
There's so much stuff I want to cast early.
Yeah,
Well,
makes
what
sense.
to talk about now?
Well, we've got some topics. We've done some planning for this. It's okay. What do you think? I'll let you pick. Go ahead.
All right. Well,
Make
this
your choice.
I'm actually very interested in because talking about strong cards, weak cards, underrated cards. Because though you put the note in
What? Which one?
That was me, actually. I put that one.
Oh,
in.
that was you. Okay.
That was me.
Wait, which? Maybe I haven't
I
even
see
seen this
someone
now.
wrote Millhouse Mana Storm.
Yeah.
Oh, that terrible
I want to talk
card.
about. I want to talk about that card actually. With you.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
Golden Legendary
I do
Mana
too.
Storm. I
I'm ready
delete
for
it
this.
All
right.
immediately.
As soon as I saw that someone wrote Millhouse Mana Storm in here, I'm like, well, that has to be talked about, obviously.
I knew that would get. I knew that would get somebody's attention if I read that. So.
All right. Let's hear this.
So basically, the card I think is actually good. It's not good in all situations, but you throw one of them in your deck. In my Shaman deck, I have them only, not in any of my other decks. And if I go second, I get coin, and I drop them on turn 1, which happens like more often than you would think. I throw him down. Someone will use a swipe, a starfire. I've like had him mind controlled, and like they throw their cards out on this guy, and if they don't, then I have a 4/4 really early, and they're like freaking out. Like I play against a warrior, which is pretty rare in Masters, but you get a warrior, and then he's like, I don't have any spell cards to play right now this early, and I don't know what to do. Like he plays Whirlwind, it doesn't help. But for me, if I play him in the early game, people will throw away a lot of spells on him, which for me is good because I'm like, oh, well, now you don't have one of your swipes, or now you don't have one of your starfires. Mid game, you never want to play him, and you basically don't play him against mages like almost ever.
Yeah.
But in the late game, it can be quite useful too when both of you guys are just at that point where you're top decking only and you have no cards and you play him, because then if your opponent only has one spell card, the fact that it costs nothing is kind of irrelevant at that point. So I every time I want to take him out of my deck, I play him and somebody wastes a card. And I kept, when I was playing through like Diamond and early Masters before I got the Masters 2, I think I'm going to be Masters 3 pretty soon, I kept thinking, I don't know, people are going to stop using cards on him. Maybe this is just I'm playing bad people that are throwing down Starfire on this guy, but still, like, top players I'm hitting are just still throwing that stuff at him instantly because they get scared, like, whoa, it's a 4/4 on his first turn because he coined him. What do I do? And they just throw their spells away. So I'm liking him for that reason.
That's kind of I like what you
logic.
said. No, I really thought I was just gonna laugh at you the whole time, but all right, I kind of get it. That's kind of neat.
For a
Glad you're on the
Starfire,
show, Wolf.
I'm happy for it. You know, I'm glad for it.
This is true. Unless you do it and then they have, who was it? Somebody on Twitter, I can't remember. Somebody had Archmage Antonitis.
Oh,
and a
Antonitis,
Fire Blast in their
Oh,
hand, yeah.
God.
You just get infinite fireballs and you're dead.
Fireballs, yeah.
Thanks, Millhouse.
That's why you can't play against a mage. If he has Antonitis, he plays that, then you just lose.
Oh, that's kind of funny, actually.
Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah, you actually give them infinite fireballs with that one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember who that was. That was either
think it was
Day 9 or
Last
Last Shadow that had that happen. It was
Last
Last Shadow? Okay, yeah. I knew it was one of the two. Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
that's risky. All right, well maybe I'll give Millhouse Manastorm a try.
Yeah, Yeah.
if I haven't disenchanted him already.
What about you guys? I mean, what cards do you guys use that you think might, like, other people might think are bad or that you're not sure about? Do you guys have any of those?
I'm consistently
sure I
told,
do.
and I know that it's absolutely right, but I keep having so much luck with it, and that's Young Dragonhawks in Hunter decks. But it's like, no, don't take it. It's 1/1 Wind Fury, and if it's against a mage, obviously it goes pop immediately, or against a rogue. But there's a couple of nasty little combos that can be played with it, especially if you happen to be able to throw out the what's the name of it? Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah.
It combos nicely with buffs like, say, Houndmaster. It combos nicely with Scavenging Hyena and things like that. And it is a bad card, but there are some combinations where it can surprise people, and sometimes people leave it alone because Trump said it was a bad card, so I'm not going to do anything to it, and then it just murders you. And I'm like, Trump, why? But,
yeah, I've seen a couple really good Dragonhawks. I think it's not good in Arena. I think that's probably why Trump doesn't like it. But
Yeah.
I think if constructed, it definitely has a place.
I have one in my Hunter deck right now, and I think, like, it can definitely be good, like you said, with Unleash the Hounds, and sometimes if you have a Timberwolf out or you have the Beastmaster, then it can suddenly become this really scary card that makes your opponent panic like crazy.
Yeah, it does still have that disadvantage, and I mean, that's any one health cost card where if you draft it in an arena and then you run into a mage or a rogue or a druid, then that thing just goes pop. So you're immediately limited as to what you can play on turn 1 or 2 versus anything that has 2 health or above.
That makes sense.
For me, I kind of like... by the way, the Young Dragonhawk, I ran into a deck that was playing that yesterday with... God, what was it? It was something that just gave some plus attack. Like, was it a priest deck? I'm trying to... No, it was a paladin deck, and it was like the word of...
Oh, Blessing of Kings?
Blessing, something like that. No.
There's Blessing of Kings, there's also Blessing of Might. Blessing of Might for 1 mana.
Blessing of Might's the 1 cost plus 3 attack, and then Kings is a 4/4.
That thing on that is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, very, very early, big burst.
I've actually been thinking about that for my Paladin deck, yeah. It is, it is
You
nice.
can use that with when, was it, something Farseer, the other one that's like 2/3
Farseer,
Wind Fury.
2/3 Wind Fury,
right.
3 cost, which that's pretty solid. Thing is, you don't have a lot of Wind Fury options unless you're playing a Shaman deck. There's that, and there's the Harpy as well, and that's about it.
Is the Doomhammer? Is that the one the weapon that's
the Wind Fury weapon?
That one gives me nightmares, man.
I love Doomhammer.
That's like the whack-a-mole minion killer weapon.
Yeah.
I love that one.
That one gets me all the time. What do you guys think about Sylvanas Windrunner, the 5-drop that's 5/5 that its death rattles to like get a random
I use her in
minion?
every deck.
I have it in my decks right now, but it doesn't always work out for me. Like sometimes it can win me the game, but sometimes it just doesn't matter because they'll trade against her or they just kill her with a spell instead when there's nobody on the field, then play their cards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She hasn't always been useful for me, but I have her in my decks.
The problem with putting an MC out there and just saying, hey guys, I have an MC, kind of gets away from the point of what mind control can do to flip the game around because they don't know it's coming. So that's the real problem with it, I think.
I end up stealing almost no minions with Sylvanas, but I actually use her in like literally every single deck because I feel like she puts people into such a gross position where they have to play around her like crazy, and like no matter what, she has to be silenced, or you have to like trade all your minions and get rid of her. Like trade your minions for mine and get rid of her. And normally it like works out better for me than them. Yeah. So it's just like kind of this thing that I drop, and I'm like, you have to be real careful now. And
it's
like,
kind of like that's such a huge thing, is cards that make your opponent have to play in like a different way. Even though the card itself may not be specifically good. Like I use 2 Doomsayers in my mage deck. Just because even though the Doomsayer itself, it's not a huge threat or whatever, but it makes them just not play creatures for a couple turns until they can deal with it, or 1 turn until it self-destructs,
I like Doomsayer.
right?
Doomsayer's
Cool. Just gives you a free turn essentially with mage.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure out how to make Doomsayer useful. I have this Warlock deck right now that has a ton of legendaries in it, and it's basically centered around going to late game. It has 2 magma golem or lava golem. The one that's lava giant. Yeah, it has 2 of those.
Yeah, Molten Giant is a great play in a Warlock deck for obvious reasons because you keep killing yourself. So
I also have Alex Strasza in the deck because I used her
that
to
thing.
get back up to 15 health if I'm having problems because I have very few minions in the early game. And I feel like Doomsayer could be useful to try to clear the board before I get to all my crazy legendaries. And I haven't figured out how to make Doomsayer useful yet, but I think it's a really strong card. I've used it in Arena actually a few times and had some success. You know, it just kind of randomly works out that way, but I really want to try to put him in my deck.
I think he's a good like early mid game play. If you can play him like around turn like 3 to 4, usually they have like 2 or 3 creatures out, but not enough to kill 7 health worth of stuff. Yeah. So it seems like that's kind of like the sweet spot that I've seen for Doomsayer anyway.
Yeah. The neat thing you can do with Doomsayer is to try and play a buff on it that will actually give it a little bit of attack and force them into a situation where you either lose all your stuff or you lose like 2 or 3 of your things trying to kill it off. Either way, it's value at that point.
Yeah. That's one of those cards.
Worst case scenario, it has taunt, you know? They're going to attack it.
Yeah.
I love those.
Beautiful.
I love the cards that just, you know, seem bad, but you can find out, you know, ways to use them. Like, what is it? Silent Watcher, the 2 that's like a 4/5 or whatever?
Yeah.
I think that is.
You can either whack a taunt in it or you can silence
Ancient
it
Watcher.
to clear the... Yeah. You can just silence that thing and then suddenly it's swinging, but it's a difficult combo to pull off.
I've been seeing Warlocks use it, where they put it out, and then they use the card later on that kills a creature and does its damage to all other creatures to just
Shadow
mass
Flame it?
clear as well. Yeah,
That works.
Shadow Flame. Yeah.
Yep. Or you can eat it with a Void Terror. That's a pretty efficient way to give it 4-5 stats.
Yeah.
I've seen some people use that in their decks. It's really rare, but that thing, I listen to all those cards. I always want to try to figure out how to use it in the deck, but I couldn't. Whenever I see it in the arena, I'm like, nope, it's not happening.
No, I mean, that's bottom tier arena. There's no way you shouldn't.
Big difference there. Yep. So what's so now Total Biscuit? You said that you've been playing more arena or more constructed.
I only
more
play arena. I did one day of playing ladder and went from Copper 1 to like Diamond 2 or whatever with one deck and just said, this is kind of pointless. I like the arena is nice because there's always stakes, whereas if you play in regular constructed, especially in beta, it's like, well, what the hell is the point? If I get up to Masters 3, it serves no practical purpose. So I love playing arena, and plus the fact that you get to break all the rules as well. 2 legendaries or 6 Defias. I did a 6 Flame Tongue Totem deck. That was fun.
What?
I can't even imagine.
Well, that was the weirdest deck ever because you have to really think about positioning in that deck because of the way the Flame Tongue Totem works. So it's like, all right, I'm going to put this out here, this to the left, that collapses on that after I kill that, which then buffs that, and then I'm
like imagining you have like 3 Flame Tongue
really
Totems out, and then you're like, where do I put this 4th Flame Tongue Totem? I'm like, I just put it anywhere, man. It's fine.
Yeah, you've got to be careful because you don't get optimal damage output out of it if you put that stuff in the wrong place. It was really strange. I even had to think about you've always got to put your creatures on the left in that deck because totems always spawn on the right. So you've got to think about that as well. And then it's great fun. But you'll never get that in constructed, and that's just so much more fun.
See, with decks like that, what terrifies me is there's that bug. I don't know if you've seen it, where when you play certain creatures and do things, they'll like switch spots.
Yeah,
that
happens to me every now and then. Like, they actually stay in the right spot in game, for me anyways, but like it confuses me because like the buffs even stay in the right place, but the cards just keep flipping like this, and I'm like having to think about where they are.
That can screw you, especially with stuff like an explosive shot or anything like that. It's
absolutely.
It's legit. You got to be careful.
So what do you think Blizzard need to do to like bring you back to constructed? Like what's it gonna take?
I think maybe just wait for it to launch because then like getting the race to Masters 3 actually means something at that point, and then maybe have a real ladder and be able to see names, have an ELO ranking, something along those lines. Maybe you get the ability to see the rankings of the guys in that league and maybe their most played deck. Obviously, you can't see the deck, but maybe the class they play and things like that. Try to compete to be world's best rogue, world's best hunter, things like that. Right now, it's just matchmaking in a set of groups, right? That's it.
Yeah. That's
all there really is to it. So I probably won't play that much constructed even once the game comes out because arena's just so much more fun to me.
I see what you're saying. I know a lot of people actually who play only arena because they think it's more like just like you said, there's a stake to it.
Yeah,
And
there's
for
no
them,
mistakes.
they're like, well, I got to Platinum 3, but it's taken a while to get to Diamond, and why am I doing this anyways? Because it's going to be reset. But for me, because I really, really like card games and I'm just competitive by nature, that's why I play ranked, because I want to see like if my deck is better than other people's deck, and I like to have fun with that. And when I play Arena, some of the frustration I have actually is like, well, in constructed, when someone plays two fireballs, you're like, all right, well, they don't have a third
Have any
fireball.
more.
Like I can think
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
like this, but in arena,
Yeah,
when that happens, I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, he could have anything. It's really hard for me to play
Could
and
have
think
6
about
flame
like
tongue
how things
totems.
work.
He
Yeah,
could.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about Constructed is that there's like this completely fixed rule set, and like you can kind of over time figure out like what is exactly the best here. So right now I'm playing like all Constructed. I'm eventually going to give Arena a big shot, but I just, as Wolf said, I like to be able to calculate and be like, all right, well, he only has one more hex or something like that.
Yeah. It's funny
I,
because we can look at Arena and say that it's a very casual mode, but simultaneously, some of the best players play only Arena because they like that challenge and they like the fact that the stakes are always there. And to actually win Arena, it's pretty difficult. You're only allowed to lose twice, and then you've got to do 9 wins in a row. That's a difficult thing to do. So it's so strange to see the juxtaposition of this kind of pseudo-casual mode with something that's actually super competitive as well.
It's a lot like drafting in Magic, which I think that like I don't think you can actually say that Constructed or drafting is really head and shoulders above each other in either way. I mean, there's probably arguments both ways. It's like very similar skill sets, but not the same. There's like different things you need to be good at. Like, I'll like calculate how many cards left in my opponent's deck and what I've already seen, try to remember that in Constructed, whereas someone in Arena is going to be like, well, these are the range of cards he can have. I'm not sure how many he has. I have to play very carefully because he could have 6 Flame Tongue Cavus, or not Cavu, God, Magic cards coming back to me.
Wow. That's
Flame
what
Tongue
say, yeah.
Totems.
That sounds
Singer
horrific.
vampires,
What
Three Sarah
what
Angels,
heroes,
why not?
putting Rogue off the table for a second, what heroes do you guys think are like the strongest right now? Because obviously Rogue is the strongest. That's not a debate, but for the others, what do you guys think?
Hunter and Shaman right underneath Rogue.
Well, what about these Divine Paladin decks? Those are...
That specific type of deck puts Paladin up there too, but if you're talking, are we talking specific decks or general strength? Because I think general strength, Hunters and Shamans are going to be right under Rogue, but deck specific, I think Divine Shield Paladin and its ilk are probably its ilk, that variety of deck. I haven't gotten a chance to say the word ilk in a long time, but there you go. But I think Divine Shield Paladin could actually be like the best deck in the game right now.
What about some of these really taunt-heavy Druid decks that are coming out right now? I've hit some good Druid decks.
There's a couple of them up there, yeah.
I sometimes have trouble with some of these decks, so they just keep buying time, and then they keep putting out the Iron Bark Protector, and then they have like all these minions, and they play the card that I think it's Spirit of the Forest, where all the guys get the 2/2 Treant Death Rattle, and then I just eventually get overwhelmed by some of those decks. Do you guys ever hit any of those guys?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's one guy specifically, I can't remember his name, but he's got a really good Druid control deck, and he plays
Roof
it.
Trellin.
That's him, yeah.
Oh, I've hit that guy before.
He plays it.
That's such a perfect name.
If you're Roof Trellin, please tweet at me so that we can practice some games, because you're the only Druid that beats me. Please.
Same here. Yeah, he's really
I've hit
good.
that guy before, yeah. He's good.
I ran into an Arena deck that had 4 Ironbark Protectors in it. Nightmare.
Well,
wow.
That sounds like a nightmare, yeah.
It was horrendous.
Yeah.
Do you guys use... I was just going to ask, do you guys use Ysera in any of your decks? Not to change topics too drastically, but...
Yeah, I've used her a couple of times. It's pretty good.
Ysera, the legendary that...
4/12 dragon with its own deck. Yeah. She's pretty legit.
Yeah.
That deck, the Dream deck, God, it's got every card in that Dream deck is super powerful for its cost and has some really nice abilities. That's a great card.
I love that. There's nothing more fun than that thing just wins control wars no matter what. Like if you're playing if you get that out and you're not already dead, like 2 turns later you are just
You get such a massive card advantage in terms of like 2 cards a turn instead of 1, and then your card efficiency is super good from Ysera, and like it's a ridiculously good card. And 12 health
dream
too.
card is so good that and with the 12 health, seriously, like when
well,
people
just gets
play her against
assassinated,
me,
but, you know.
she just like swings at me and starts killing my stuff and never dies, and then they're playing all this. Oh my god, amazing!
You can do all sorts of stuff with priest decks with her too. Like you can make her health, you know, her attack equal her health and double her health and do crazy things like that. I've
12,
seen that
24.
against priests. It's like what?
It's pretty legit. Or just faceless it, have 2, get 2 dream cards every turn. Oh god, it's sickening.
Yeah. For those in chat, I see some people in chat asking what a dream card is. Well, basically with Ysera, you get a card from a different set. I think there's 5 different dream cards.
I think there's 5. Yeah.
So it's like a separate little deck of cards that when you play Ysera at the end of every turn, you draw one of those, and then you can play it like any other card. So
yeah, there's a lot of people ask about that. Like there's certain special decks. Like there's an animal companion deck where you get certain animal companions. There's dream cards where those cards don't actually exist in the game. You can't put them in your deck. It's just a card that you can only get from Ysera or only from the animal companion card. So there's certain decks like that.
Yeah, and in my deck, though, the only special cards I draw are those fatigue cards at the end.
Oh. It was weird, actually, how the fellow earlier was talking about card draw for warriors. And, of course, there's Battle Rage, which I managed to combo together Battle Rage with a Wild Pyromancer and fatigued myself to death twice as a direct result because I pulled, like, 11 cards. And as a warrior, it's like, well, great, I'm in fatigue. What do I do now? I just sit there and die. It's
pretty much, yeah.
It's horrible.
Armor up.
You can get armor, I guess. Yeah. One of the best feelings I've ever had playing Hearthstone was when a rogue was playing against me and he killed himself with fatigue by shivving one of my minions. And I'm like, yeah. It was a beautiful thing. Yeah. That's great.
You know, the Manatide Totem has actually been my death a few times.
Yeah, it's a good card.
You have to be careful when you play that card because if you've only got like 7 cards left, 7 or 8 cards left. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm just not playing this card because if he just ignores it and I die from fatigue, that's a problem.
I was playing 2 of the Gadget Zone Auctioneers, and I had 2 of them out with the Manatide Totem a few times, where like I'm just like killing all the stuff, feeling cool, and then I'm like, oh, I have 1 card left in my deck, and I look at all the spells in my hand, and I'm like, I'm pretty low on life. I can't play these, or I'll draw so many fatigue cards that I'll die.
I died from Nat Pagel once in a similar situation where I had 2 Gadgetsons and Nat Pagel.
Wow.
And then I was like 50-50 chance I lose, and I died.
As a World of Warcraft player, I'm so like I don't know. I'm so glad to see Nat Pagel get included. Did you play? You played plenty of World of Warcraft, didn't you? Total Biscuit.
I got my start doing WoW, man. That's where my
okay.
shit
Yeah,
I
thought so. So yeah, so it's that's one of the things as a WoW player since the very beginning. I love like all the lore connections and all that. I don't know, it's just fun. I just like Warcraft as an IP.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's that big nostalgia. It's annoying because I said I'd never play WoW again. Then they got me kind of back in it indirectly. It's like, well, this is a card game with WoW characters. This is okay, right? Oh,
once I started playing and I was having so much fun, it did make me wanna restart my level 7 dwarf on World of Warcraft.
Wow.
I considered resubbing for a moment, and I'm like, no madness, no.
For me, I never actually played WoW, but right now I'm like I'm learning about these cards. Like Nat Pagel's just a funny card to me when I see him, and like his legendary music plays, and I go on like Wowpedia, and I'm like, oh, so that's who Nat Pagel is, but I have no time for WoW because I'm playing so much Hearthstone, so I probably will never get into it. But it's really fun to see some of these characters like Jiraxis. I looked him up yesterday, on my phone while I was on the subway. I was like, well, I'm kind of curious, like, who is this guy? Like, he's a great card. He's really fun to play, but I don't know anything about it.
Did you hear his techno remix? Because that's beautiful.
Really?
I have not seen that.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, look up on YouTube, Mr. Volatron Jiraxis. You'll love it.
Mr. I'm like getting on my notepad right now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Mr. Volatron Jiraxis.
Yeah.
All right.
The best thing about that one is that he uses a lot of the same voice samples as he uses in Hearthstone as well, so it's great.
Okay. Yeah, that was a fun boss too in WoW. I don't know. I've been like permanently subbed
Jiraxis,
since
it was
2005. So I still play like once in a while, but I have to. I don't know. It's just so fun. But I guess with the sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I wanted to ask TV real quick. I saw you type into the chat that Nozdormu is a card that.
Oh Jesus!
Tell me. Let's hear it.
So I drafted Nozdormu once and went 0-3 as a result of that card because I thought I could really get this guy off balance by playing Nozdormu. He's got a bunch of cards in his hand, and then he just plays the most efficient play ever, and I just fall to pieces completely. It's like I am panicking so much. That card is evil. For those who
That card is
know,
awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I had that card in my Warlock deck for a while because it actually really does get into some players' heads.
Oh, it really does, yeah.
I found that in Masters 1 and Masters 2, before it was Masters 2, like when I was Masters 1, all the time when I was playing that card, I kept just hitting slow people. And I was like, these guys are so slow. I mean, they're waiting until right before it bumps the end turn button to end their turn. And I had some success. So I eventually traded out for Malgios, the +5 spell power guy. But
yeah.
I did have some success flustering people in the past.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to see cards like that, too, because like in Magic the Gathering early on, they had cards like that as well, and there have been some of those in the past too, where it's very like outside the game kind of metagame types of cards, and eventually they sort of phase a lot of those out. I wonder if Hearthstone is going to do that, because cards like that just put a whole new sort of challenge into the game that only exists for that one card. And you know, well, let's just talk about that. Are those types of cards good in general for a game from a competitive side? Because Hearthstone's obviously casual, but from a competitive side, we've always seen those cards banned in the past. What do you think about Hearthstone?
I guess it's okay. Well, the thing is, I look at it, I'm like, well, does a rogue player truly have time to play all 10 spells that they need on this turn if not Storm's out? And then I'm like, well, you know, it's... But then again, I hate rogue players so much that I'm like, you know what, let's just keep that card right in there.
If we can hurt those guys, I think it's great, yeah.
Put it in a hunter deck that's secret-based. Secret animations tick the timer down in the beta right now. And sometimes they bug out and play the animation twice. Yep, they tick the timer down. You can screw someone over hard that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's good against Hunter as well. Very nice. Very nice.
Good.
I don't know about these cards. Like, I'm trying to figure out like what other types of effects they could have. Like your opponent's mouse moves like backwards.
Backwards.
Like you have to like move your mouse backwards. Like you have to move your mouse in the opposite direction of what you want to do. It's like
some
inverts your
unglued
opponent's
shit
mouse
right there.
cursor.
Yeah.
You know. What other effects could there be that like affects how you play your turn? I don't know.
I really like that idea. That's actually really
you have to
funny.
use the arrow keys on your keyboard or something too. I have no idea, but there was a set in Magic the Gathering called Unglued.
Unglued, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That had a bunch of cards like that where you had a card and you had to like rip it up or something and then
Chaos
scatter
Confetti.
the pieces.
Yeah,
that's right.
Chaos
like, whatever.
Confetti was awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd love to see more stuff like that in Hearthstone.
That's interesting.
As a competitive side,
Yep. I think those kind of cards could be put in for some more casual game modes. So later down the line, I always thought a game mode with permanent unkillable Lore Walker Cho would be a pretty fun game mode to play, like just with your friends. I think that would be kind of awesome later down the line, just some kind of custom game modes like that.
That would be so cool if people could just like have their own edited cards and then host their own private games to play these sort of weird game types.
Yeah.
That's a whole new sort of world of like modding that I haven't even thought of that before. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that hard either, really, when you think about it.
That would be cool, but I think especially if we wait until everyone's played it a whole bunch, because that's what makes it really funny when you start adding that in. Then you're like I saw a clip from that buildings can move thing that I think Husky did.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Oh my god! And like the hatchery ran away, and then the cannons went up the ramp, and I'm like, this wouldn't have been funny if I didn't play so much StarCraft, you know?
Yeah. That's pretty great, though.
If you want to keep the game fresh for the casual players, you need something which uses the core mechanics but puts a unique spin on it.
I think, just based on... I've watched, like, all of the Hearthstone podcasts before the beta came out, like, all of them. I watched some of them twice because I was so excited for this game. And, listening to what Eric said even earlier, I feel like there's probably not going to be plans to be, like, fun game types for a while. I think Blizzard kind of wants to keep the game to where like every card can be used in Arena and be used in ranked and unranked, and just like, it's up to you whether you want the card in your deck or you're going to draft it in Arena. I feel like some of these game modes could be fun, and especially like, creating your own cards and stuff like that. But I think Blizzard kind of wants to keep the focus to just these game modes for now, especially with the iPad version coming out soon, and they just want to keep it simple. But some of this stuff would be really cool. I just don't know how reasonable it is to expect some of these things, like 2v2 we talked about earlier.
We know they've got a smaller team too, so that is gonna slow things down a little bit, which is fine. I mean, they've got a good core game to work on right now, and I mean, I'd kind of prefer to see them be concerned more about like expansions and things like that right off the bat and balance.
Exactly.
I feel like getting a big card pool fast is going to be really important for this game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the problem with Arena right now as well. I was talking to Sean a little bit about it, and he was saying, do you feel that Arena can kind of get a bit boring because there's too many gray cards, as in there's too many, you pick up too many neutral cards, and you don't get there aren't enough class cards to make things flavorful. Like, yeah, you're probably right. And once they start to pump more stuff into that, all those modes are going to get much more interesting as we go in.
One of the things I love about this game is it's just so simple. I mean, there's no chat, by the way, which is for me amazing. I love that.
That's
chat.
fantastic. Yeah.
It's for me.
Actually,
I mean, I know it's a big debate, but like for me, I love that so much.
It's the
It
best.
is nice, but I want different emotes. Like, I want there to be something like, "Wow, nice top deck," or what I really hate is when someone gets like really lucky and then I have to leave the game. First off, when I hit concede, it should be instant. I hate when I hit concede and it takes so long that they kill me in the meantime. I hate that.
I know exactly. I have actually a belief where if somebody, for me, I play with a lot of people. I play with you, Doe. I play with Last Shadow a lot, and I play with my friend Brendan. We're all like agreed that if you don't kill somebody the fastest way possible when the game is over, like you would concede against that person. Like if somebody has like the ability to kill you with like a 5 and they like attack you with all their 1s and says as soon as they attack with 1-1, I'm like, concede, I'm out. Exactly. I'm not gonna give you the pleasure, man. Like if you're gonna kill somebody, kill them with the first card, otherwise you're being
Like I make sure to kill the mage with my sheep, like that's but
I hate conceding with my shaman because he goes like, "Well played, friend." I'm not your friend, rogue. It's like I can't.
Exactly.
I can't
That's the next
that.
thing I was going to say. Is I need my own concession thing. Where
you can threaten when you concede before, like the elements will destroy you. Because it's like that way is like at least someone's out to get you because you got lucky. I don't know.
I'm having a hard time getting my bad manner through when I'm losing, which I think is an issue. But at the same time, maybe that's good as well.
You can be sarcastic with the emotes a little bit,
Yeah, I'm trying to
find
feel
subtle
out
ways to do it. Yeah, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but like I'm trying to attack people, like screw them up and then hit thank you and stuff like that. I'm working on it. I'm gonna figure out.
Someone plays like a bunch of Murlocs, you flame strike them, and you're like, sorry. I mean,
that's when a rogue goes like turn 2 Defias ringleader against me. I'm always like sorry because I feel bad for him that like that's what type of player he is, like that he would do that. So I'm like I'm sorry for you, man, and I just keep spamming that until I die.
A lot of people
I love
say
the fact
sorry,
the most offensive emote we've got is sorry. That's
like I'm sorry that you have to play the game that way. It's like I'm sorry that you could play
it now. The #1 world champion, a Canadian, for sure.
I would love just a luck emoticon, like where your character says that was lucky, whether it was for you or for them or whatever,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Like that was lucky, something like that.
Actually, I've noticed that like when I actually play someone really good and they know that they got lucky, they hit sorry.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and that actually
happens to me sometimes too.
You're a good player and you know that you totally lucked out, hit the sorry. There's times to be bad man and there's times to apologize.
That's true.
And they both use the same button.
That's true. Yeah. It's very high context.
I gotta write a guide on how to bad man on Hearthstone. I'm actually getting into this.
Sorry is when you top deck King Crush.
Oh, King Crush, man. Oh god, like someone did say sorry to me about that. I get killed by a golden King Crush. Like that was Crush. I like had to Alt F4 and stop playing for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I always say sorry before I top deck Pyroblast somebody with my mage deck. It does happen sometimes. So.
Rognar's Firelord, man. Sorry.
guy.
Oh God.
That guy. He's so good. You ever draft him in Arena Total Biscuit?
I've had him
Have you
drafted
been
against
lucky
me in
enough?
arena. It's murdered me horribly. The best draft I've ever had, I think, had 3 legendaries in it. That was fun. And one of those legendaries was Nat Pagal, which helped me get the others. It's just perfect.
Oh yeah.
That was a fun.
So good.
Wait, which card were we just talking about right there?
Ragnaros.
Ragnaros.
One that's do 8 damage to a random.
Oh, he's in
He's
every
a-
deck that I use too. He's so
He's a
good.
monster. Yeah.
That guy is so ridiculous. Like, if you are in any type of lead and you play him out, you should see, like, he'll, like, do the 8 damage to whatever, and then the next turn I can see my opponent like this, and they just, like, attack him with 3 minions, and he's, like, 4 for 1 card advantage or something. Like,
You silence him, he's still just it's just an 8/8.
It's still an 8/8. Yeah. It's horrible.
It's a great
for a
card.
while I was giving him taunt, which was the funniest.
Oh,
like,
God.
You put taunt on that guy, you're just like, ah. I actually had a game where I had Sylvanas Windrunner or whatever her name is, and this guy out, and I put the Argus guy that gives both taunt, Defender of Argus,
Oh, my.
Oh,
in
yeah.
between. Oh. Suffice to say, I won that game.
I ancestral healed Ragnaros once. He was down to like 2 health. He goes up to 8 again. I'm like, well, sorry guys, he's also taunt now.
Oh, brutal.
It's pretty dead. Man. Well, let's see. I wanted to touch on a tournament format discussion. Does it seem like a good time for that to you guys?
Yeah,
What do
sure.
you think? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Because there was one specific thing I wanted to talk about with that, and that's Ask Joshy, who does a lot of YouTube stuff and works at Blizzard now as well. He thought up a really, really cool tournament format. And the idea there, and right now we see, people entering tournaments with 1 deck, and you play your 1 deck, right? Well, his idea was that you would pick 3 decks, 3 different classes, and you'd have 3 decks. Your opponent would pick their 3 decks. It'd be anonymous. You wouldn't know what each other were picking. And then you would play a best of 5, essentially, but you would play it all-kill format, which if any of you are familiar with StarCraft 2, which I would imagine most of you probably are, the idea there is that you both pick your first decks, and the winner stays. Then the loser has to bring out a different deck, and so the first person to beat the other guy's 3 decks wins. And I thought that was such a cool, elegant way to sort of get around all the issues people are having with tournaments right now, which is class balance, all that stuff. And this way you have a lot more skill because the person has to play a lot of different decks and a lot of different matchups. It's more entertaining to watch because you get a lot of different decks as well. And I feel like it's just more fair. It takes away a lot of the effects of like class imbalances. What do you guys think about that?
I really like it. I read that last night for the first time, and I think that is probably the best way to have a fair face-off. I feel like one of the only downsides to it would be just the length, for if you're doing a tournament from like round of 64 on or something, a bigger tournament, and then the earlier rounds take a lot longer because of that. Maybe you should have it for the top 8 only, but then, of course somebody is going to say, well, that wasn't fair. I lost to that really overpowered deck in the round of 64, and if I made it to the round of 8, then I would have done better there. So that's the only thing I see, that just time issue.
Mm-hmm.
I just love anything with like all kill format. I think it makes for such exciting things and like swings and stuff. Like even, you could go even deeper into it. I like what you're saying because it's very simple with the 3 decks. But like, what if you even had 5 decks? Like the types of swings you can have are like, it's like you go down to your last deck, but you're like, this is my best deck, and then you like reverse all kill every deck he has with like your crazy rogue deck.
Well, like
and
players
his rogue
could
deck's
become.
at the end and it's a tie. But
I'd love to see it too, where like players become known for certain things, where it's like, oh, this is the guy with the really good, shaman deck, but he's like saving it, or like, oh my gosh, he brought out a shaman deck right away. He just wants to like go for the kill immediately. I feel like you get a lot of that same drama that you get from SC2, all kill leagues and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's room for gimmick decks in competitive play there as well, because if you use a gimmick deck like you would a sniper in a team league, for instance.
Exactly.
Which means get even more
really cool.
Yeah, you wait until they bring out like their rogue deck, and then you have like a specific counter deck to that as well. Yeah.
And the thing is, the
kinda
best
cool,
part about it is you get to see like their deck exactly when you lose to, while you're losing to, you can see exactly how they play it, and then you're like, okay, well, I have 4 decks to choose from. this is the one I think that is best against that type of deck that he just used against me because I've seen it. He just uses it against me. I know how he plays it, and I have a counter deck for that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like having like maybe one sniper deck in there. You're like, well, my other two decks are like really well rounded, but they both lose to rogue, and then you have a deck that just slaughters a rogue or something like that. It's such a good idea, that tournament format. I really like that better than a lot of these other ideas, like the sideboarding, which gets a little bit gross, and
it's pretty fiddly.
What do you guys think? I mean, what are the specifics for the rules? If you do this though, because can you have two different rogue decks, or does it have to be one deck per hero? Because if you have like two rogue decks, you could have. I mean, one deck could be one card different, literally, than the other one.
It's three of the exact same rogue deck. You're just like, eventually, I'm gonna get the coin, and you're done.
Yeah, you probably have to say one deck per class, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's what Josh said too with his, but. Yeah.
Another thing is just I feel like that I'm trying to play devil's advocate here a little bit, but how would you make sure that your opponent is following the rules in that sense? Like, what cards is he changing cards between?
Well, unfortunately, with Hearthstone,
like
there's just no way to know right now. I mean, that's kind of just one of the risks of playing in a Hearthstone tournament is you don't know if the other guy is gonna cheat like that. So.
Yeah. Nothing. The only thing you can do is give the lists to the admins, and if they see any inconsistencies, but even then, they might not see it.
About it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what tournament is going to have people like watching every game? Being like, oh, I don't think that card was on his list.
You could have because we know that Blizzard's going to put in like some tournament type formats and stuff. What if they saw this and they were like, oh, you know what? That's a great tournament format. I mean, Joshy that works for Blizzard did think of it, so maybe they actually just make it there like. You choose your three decks and just locks them in for you or something like that. Like
that would be sick. That would be so good.
You can do. They could do automated tournaments. Like there used to be things like that in Warcraft 3 and whatnot. So it's not like an undoable thing.
Yeah, with how they built
and that would be the easiest way because if you're like, all right, select your three decks and you select them, they're like, okay, here you go. It's all programmed in, which is the beauty of Hearthstone, anyways. Like the rules are in there. A lot of times I'd make a move, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work, then I do it, and it doesn't. I'm like, okay, thank you, game, for letting me know. Because if I was doing it with my Magic cards, I'm like, how do I figure out if this works, It's
got a built-in DCI judge. Yep.
Exactly. Level 5.
That's right.
What do you guys think about banned cards? Like, for tournament play, should certain cards be banned from tournament play, or should it just be up to Blizzard to decide what's overpowered and what's underpowered? Because it's not, I mean, if you think about like StarCraft, you can never like ban Two Rocks Proxy or something because you think it's too strong, like because it's just in the game. Do you think tournaments could ban certain cards because they think they're too strong because Blizzard hasn't patched them yet, or what do you guys think about that?
Wasn't there a card that was already taken out by Blizzard?
Yeah, Adrenaline Rush. It was.
Yeah.
What was it? It was a really efficient card draw card.
It was
for rogues.
1 or 2 to draw a card, and then the combo was draw 2 cards, right? It was something like that.
So.
I think so. It was really close to that, and
I think it was like 1 for 1, and the combo was 2.
Yeah, that was already taken out, and as you can look at it and think about how strong rogue decks are and how much better they would be with that in it. That's just
obscene.
It's obscene.
I think it'll always be up to tournament organizers as far as like what cards are banned or whatever.
Against that card for sure.
It's true.
So fun.
I mean, I guess it's up to the tournament organizers, but it's just there's certain things that happen with games that are like this that are not a big esport, right? Like StarCraft is or League of Legends, where the company is patching things that are clearly strong very quickly and very up to date. I feel like Hearthstone, there's so many different cards, so many different possibilities that something could become overpowered overnight, and there would be a while before it was patched. It could happen before a tournament. And it could be like blatantly overpowered where everybody knows it, but you can still play it. It's like certain games like Street Fighter and Smash Brothers where it's kind of grassroots, the tournaments, and the organizers are like, oh, this is banned, you can't do chain grabs, you can't play this character, or you can't play this card in your deck, or you lose. So I guess that's just, I mean, we're talking about tournaments, so it's just something I wanted to throw on the table.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be that way, right? Because do we really think that Blizzard is going to throw a huge amount of esports support behind this, especially when they have All-Stars on the way? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Not a ton at first, yeah. But I think one of the things we kind of learned too from talking with Eric Dons earlier is that they are still interested in doing like live balance, where I was kind of wondering earlier if how much balance would come from expansions. And it sounds like they're very concerned about the core set right now, and they want to focus on that, and aren't concerned about rushing out expansions very quickly. So that makes me think they are going to be more, active with live balancing cards if they see something get a little bit too strong. So that's kind of the impression I got, is they're going to just change the card rather than try to counter it with something in an expansion, because that's how Magic the Gathering and like every other CCG was forever, pretty much, is if there's a strong card, especially in Magic, it's like, well, this is going to be really good in this block, but then in the next block of expansions, there's going to be this card that's going to kind of put that deck out of style. And with this game, they don't necessarily need to expand like that and kill it that way. They can just balance it.
You know what's funny is there were all these rumors about the Rogue getting nerfed and like how it's going to be nerfed. Everyone's talking about different things they heard from some guy who heard from some guy who heard from Blizzard. And as soon as those rumors came out, I noticed on the ladder, like Rogue opponents like dropped like crazy because
there's a lot less Rogue
I don't know, I'm gonna get nerfed. I don't want to play Rogue anymore. So
it's actually this last week the ladder's been a lot better because there's been like a normal amount of rogues. I kid you not, though, like the week before last week, it was 75% or more rogues. It was insane, but it actually dropped quite a bit, so that's good.
Oh.
I wonder if the iOS release is going to affect the ability to patch quickly. I've got to be honest, I don't know too much about the update system through the store, the App Store, but I don't know if there's any delay there. But if you want to hot patch stuff,
usually like most updates have to get approved by Apple, but Blizzard's such a big company that I'm sure they can get it, to where Apple
I bet they can get it
instantly.
real quick.
And that's another thing too, where they can have the basically the apps where you can't play online unless you update. I mean, that they can do that in iOS easily, so you can't log in and play without updating or anything like that. I think it should be pretty simple.
And it's not. This is kind of a dumb question, but I haven't actually read it yet. iPad and PC are going to be connected, right? There's not going to be like separate ladders.
I think so.
That seemed obvious, but I wanted.
That'd be really weird if they weren't.
Yeah.
I'm number one on the iPad ladder that no one plays, but I'm bronze on the.
It's like, sorry guys, I'm going to the iPad ladder. It's way more competitive,
Too many rogues on the iPad lately. I don't know.
I was wondering when they first were saying that it would be iPad. I was like, I wonder if that'll actually work because latency is always an issue with games. But I actually found out that I can, I tethered 3G to my phone while in Romania to my laptop, and it still ran the game. Like, that game takes no internet power at all. You can have the slowest internet in the world, and it works fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless Nozdorma was out. If he had come out, I think I would have lost all my games. But
it's true.
iPad connections can sometimes be finicky, but I've played some online games on my iPad and not dropped at all. So I feel like for me, unless I'm if I'm walking around using 3G on my iPad, around Seoul, I'm probably not going to be playing any ranked games. I'll probably be playing unranked.
That's
but if I'm in somebody's house, if I'm at somebody's house, I'll play ranked or something. But if I'm walking around Seoul, I'm probably not going to be playing ranked in case might drop my connection for a second and lose the game.
I'm gonna have to when it comes out for iPad. I was once at a StarCraft event in the Philippines, and Gunrun had this glove case for the iPad because he was running around fixing everything, and his iPad was literally attached to his hand.
Sounds like the Gunrun.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good idea,
was wearing a
But
cape at the time.
On the subway, I can just see myself doing. Yeah, he had a cape on. Of course, he had a cape on.
All the fingers on the other hand were different screwdrivers and things like that, and he just walks up to a computer and goes like this, and it just fixes his stream. Yep.
He's like RoboCop with a spike or something.
I can see that. All right. I actually bought an iPad last week, so I'm so ready for this thing to hit that. Hopefully it does soon. Yeah.
I know you guys have iPads. Do you have an iPad Total Biscuit?
I've got an iPad, but I've also got I took my Razer Edge Pro down on holiday just to play Hearthstone on. Perfect experience, and obviously that's a Windows 8 tablet. Hearthstone is actually beautiful in touchscreen. It's absolutely fantastic.
The only thing for me, I have a touchscreen Windows PC as well. The only thing for me when I play is sometimes I want to mouse over a card, but that's a little bit harder to do on touchscreens. You just hover over something and it gets bigger. You can't really do that on touchscreen because you only click, or you can. That's about it. You can click, but you can't mouse over with a touchscreen unless you have a pen and that you put close to it and you can mouse over like that.
Yeah,
So-
you can kind of, if you hold the, I think on the edge, you hold down on one part of the screen, then you kind of drag it over and it can highlight it that way. As long as you don't press again.
It's a good way to do it.
No, I'm so excited for iPad though. I mean, I that's like for me the most exciting upcoming thing for Hearthstone. I'm expecting it's probably not going to be here until release, but I
You
almost
should have
like
asked.
I know. Yeah, I just want to actually like message him and be like, listen, can I get in on the alpha for the iPad? Because I will tell you all the bugs. I'll play it all day, every day.
I can
So
see
My
let's,
iPad's jailbroken, so I mean.
Yeah. It seems like the biggest bug I've seen in the game so far is like the double secret animation that comes up
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
times. Otherwise, it's fairly bug free for the
Hunter's
most part.
Mark's still in there. I got fucked by that earlier.
Really? What's a bug with that one? I haven't seen that one.
Hunter's Mark bug basically means I don't know what triggers it, but you play Hunter's Mark on a target, you then attack the target, it actually doesn't die, basically. I assume that what happens is the Hunter's Mark doesn't properly trigger, it shows 1 health, but it actually has more than that. So say you throw a boar at it or whatever to get rid of some big card and it just doesn't happen, and then you just quit the game because that was your play and you're dead now.
Yeah. I had a lot of bugs like that before that recent patch that came out. That like fixed the friends list and stuff. I have this bug that happens to me like once a day, where if like somebody alt tabs or I get like a Kakao Talk message on my PC and like drops me out of the game, I have to alt tab back in. So then all my card text is like all black. I can't really read anything.
Yeah,
You gotta play
that happens to me
windowed
every now
mode,
and
man.
then.
you really
1600 by
do.
900
Alt
windowed
tabbing
mode.
is just horrible in that game. I've had it where everything has disappeared except for particle effects on the screen, and it's just one giant pink mist. And you can kind of see the cards, maybe, but that's about it.
Maybe that should be a special, like, 9 casting cost dragon. Like, the pink
10
mist
mana.
dragon. No one can quite see what their cards say. You have
Yeah,
to, like,
no-
change
no
the
card effects
gamma
can be
on your
read.
monitor to play against that thing.
I want a 10 mana mage spell that just is called tab out, and when you do it, the game just like completely freaks out.
I have a question for you guys regarding like cards and things kind of like on this topic. You know what happens if you play a card that's like return a friendly minion to your hand? And when I was first playing, like in the first 2 days, and realized that like you had to use the battle cry no matter what, you couldn't play the card. Like when you play a card, then like you have it select which one you're gonna do, and then you like cancel. You like right click and it comes back. Does your opponent see you play that card and then cancel? They don't see that.
I don't
right?
know.
I was wondering about that too.
I believe they see a face down card hover over the board.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
all.
that's it.
I think
Alright.
that's
Okay,
what it is
'cause I
too, but I was
see
curious
that.
about that.
Yeah.
Because
It could be a
sometimes I
tell,
play
though.
a card
You
and
gotta
I'm
be
like, wait a
careful.
minute. Yeah, because sometimes I play like the Iron Dwarf guy that gives +2. Then I'm like, actually, no, I don't think so. And I pull it back, and I'm like, did he see that I have the Iron Dwarf now? Or
I was kind of
what's
wondering that
happening
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he would suspect. I started when I do Twilight Drake plays. Say like you're playing you go second and you do the Twilight Drake play where you'll hold your coin in your hand to get the maximum and get a 9/9 Drake out. Instead of just instantly skipping the turn, I'll start hovering cards for a while and just kind of because otherwise, if you skip straight away, they pretty much immediately know. Oh, he's waiting for Twilight Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. That's actually like
Always.
that's actually going to become like a huge thing. Is trying to fake your opponent out with that stuff.
I actually
I
hover over a
started
lot of
doing a little bit
stuff
of that too,
intentionally
yeah.
for that. So I hover over my coin a lot specifically as it leads your opponent, because I mean I'm sure you guys do this too when you're watching your opponent. You always watch where the coin is, and if you see someone hover over the coin, you're like thinking, oh wow, I think he might actually do Defias here, and then he like moves away, and you're like, what is he gonna do? And then he just doesn't play the coin at all, and you're like, I think he could use the coin for this, but he's not doing it right now, so you might have this. You can fake your opponent out a lot doing that.
You can fake yourself out doing that as well. Though. You got to be a little bit careful.
That's true.
I have accidentally cast the wrong spell because I'm like screwing around with my cards.
Sometimes the art is really similar, and you just like grab it on autopilot. Yeah. I've unfortunately fell victim to that as well. Yeah. The worst is when you autopilot end turn without actually being done.
Yeah. You got to wait for that little sound.
That's
Worst feeling.
I
You
am
don't attack
so
with one of
about
your
ending my
cards.
turn immediately when I'm done doing my shit that sometimes I forget to summon a totem or something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that what? Oh, or like I don't attack with one of my minions. I'm like,
And then you always think, well, I probably lost the game because of that, and then you do lose the game.
Dude,
Yes, sometimes.
Even
Yeah.
if it's like the smallest thing.
One
Yep.
damage, you know, and you're like, your opponent's got 1 health left, and you're like, if I just attack that one time.
Yeah.
I had a lag spike when I was playing, and I was playing with like really crappy internet in a hotel, and I actually like the guy got out like that huge creature from like Warrior or something, and I went to hex it, and I accidentally hexed my own minion. Like,
oh wow!
And I was like, oh, I'm the worst. And I hit go, and then I realized that I didn't attack because I was so upset. Like I didn't attack anything, I didn't make my totem, and I was like, oh my god, I should just leave this game. And then of course he was like playing Warrior, so I won anyways. But you know.
So I'm glad the story had a happy ending.
I've had that happen a few times with when I was trying to play on my tablet PC. Where like I have like it's hooked into a keyboard, so it can either be a tablet or not. And like sometimes when I'm playing, I use the mouse, and then I'll just go flick something up on the screen. And you know how you can't just like click it and then click on something, you know, with your finger you have to kind of slide up. I've like slid up wrong and hexed one of my own guys or fireball.
On a tablet, you have to like go around.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I started doing, is going around just to make sure.
Oh yeah, I'd be so afraid to like swipe over one of my own creatures with a spell like that. Yeah, that'd be terrifying, man.
You gotta be careful.
I don't know. Yeah. Whenever I play on the PC too, I don't like hold down the click. I always like click once and then drag it and click it again, because that's just a little bit safer.
No, I always do clicks now.
Yeah.
I prefer to drag because I feel you can play things angrily that way. Yeah, you're losing. It's like
get out there,
get out there.
I love that feeling. When like the first time I played the game and I had like a board full of minions. It was actually a great feeling to just kind of like toss them all up at your opponent. Like you feel, I don't know, it's the way that the game is designed where you do have that kind of arc and you feel like you're kind of flicking the cards of your opponent. I love that so much. It's actually so rewarding when you have just a bunch of minions on the field that you've built this awesome board and you just kind of smack your opponent with all of them. I love that.
That's what all the rogues are doing though. They're just sitting there like backstab, backstab, backstab. It's like I don't know if I want to feel like that.
Whenever I play against one of these rogues, I have this like vision in my head that like they think they're so smart. They're sitting there like calculating, and they're like the way that they're moving the cards is as if they're like, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then like 10 minutes later I'm dead, and I'm like, okay, listen, you did it one-handed. Your hands were like down your pants and stuff, and nothing special about what you did, bro.
When the rogue plays like questing adventure, or he's got like a mana addict on the field, he's got attack with that turn. Then like I see like coin, and then I see preparation. I'm like I like just can't watch. Like I like turn away from my computer and go like this until it turns over. Like I mute the computer. Like and there's like preparation. Then it's like this, and then it's like this. I'm like I go to the other room and I can like hear the noises happening, and I'm like, oh god, what is he doing? How bad is it gonna be?
I was streaming a few nights ago, and I got hit by Jiraxis, and I alt-tabbed to find the Jiraxis song to play on the stream. I alt-tabbed back in, and I was dead. And it's like, you know what? It was probably for the best that I just didn't watch that.
It's true. There are times where I'm like, oh, nothing's really going to happen on this turn of his, and I'll like alt-tab, I'll be looking at something else, and I go back, and my board is clear, and he has 3 things, and then I have to go through that like really wonky graveyard and try to piece together how my game fell apart.
That's something they really need to make some improvements on. I feel is being able to go back and see what was played. And like on one big thing is have you noticed when you mouse over a card that was played previously on that little list, all the game volume goes like way down,
and it grays the game too.
It's like thanks, I really need to concentrate to like read this. I'm like thank you, but
I kind of respect that though. Like I mean, it is kind of weird, but I like that because. Sometimes I have to take a moment to, like, if something crazy happened, or if I think, so every now and then this happens to me where I lose a card, and I'm like, wait a minute, he didn't have that much power, I think, with spell power, and I'm like, hold on, is this a bug, or am I missing something? And I actually really have to focus and concentrate, so I kind of like how everything fades out while I'm doing that, so, for me, I kind of like that.
Alright. Kind of makes...
That's my opinion.
I suppose it can, like, make you feel like you're having an epic like Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon moment or something where it's like suddenly you're super focused and the whole world just like goes black and white. Right? Like that was the card.
Yeah, you're like a detective, like looking at a crime scene, like you're in the zone.
It would be nice, I've got to say, if that little log to the side was a little bit more complete. Obviously, it only shows the last few actions. It would be great just to watch a full combat log. That would be so useful to figure things out. Yeah,
you need like a scrolling feature or something too, and I mean if they have that in the game, then that means we're only like one small step, hopefully, away from replays too. Because I'd love to have
replays. I need like I want to show my friends like that epic play I made, or I want to look and see like what went wrong in a game where I'm like, should I have played this here? What do you guys think about this? This is something that people talk about. I wanted to bring this up, and I wish I actually mentioned it to you guys to ask Eric earlier, but this is something that gets talked about in all Blizzard games, like StarCraft, Warcraft 3, people talk about it. The idea of when you play somebody, you can like challenge them again for a rematch to play them one more time. I would love to have that in Hearthstone, especially because those times I play against somebody, I'm like, I had a bad draw, but like I want to have an epic game against this guy. Like he probably thinks I'm trash because I just didn't have any of the right cards. I want to play him again with the same decks.
I've done
what do you
that.
guys
I've
think
like
about
I've had that where I try to queue up as fast as I can to like try to hit him again.
that?
It oftentimes works. Like I hit the same guy
Yeah.
like 3-4 times normally in a row.
It's not gonna
Sometimes,
happen once we're out of beta.
You know, like, yeah, probably not. In StarCraft, if this happens, you're like, I want to play this guy again. You can just right-click, add friend, and message him, and if he doesn't want to play with you, you can just block or whatever, ignore you. But at least you can ask him. When in Hearthstone, you can't do that. You can't look at your match history and like go and message him and be like, "Yo, dude, you want to rematch?" And he was like, "Nah, I don't have time." And you're like, "Cool, that's fine. Like maybe later."
Yeah,
But
there's
in
no way to
Hearthstone-
like add someone at all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
want
I'd love to do that.
maybe even just send a request. Maybe not add, but so that people can't bug you. But like I would love to be able to send a request to some of these players because I don't know who they are, but they like have a cool deck, and I'm like, oh, I would love to play a couple games against this guy. But then I just tweet, and I'm like, well, I hope you randomly follow me on Twitter, whoever you are, Rutrellin, but I guess not.
Search
yeah.
for Rutrellin continues.
Search
I've
for
done that
Rutrellin.
before, actually, where like I beat a guy or I lose to a guy, and I'm like, this ID seems kind of familiar. I searched on Twitter trying to find this guy's ID on another site. One time I found a guy on like the BattleNet forums because he was posting the Hearthstone forums, and I like tried to talk to him there, but he never responded. I'm like, darn.
Aw.
It's cool to see whether or not you've just got beaten into the ground by a streamer as well, but you got to be careful. If you end up in that chat even for a microsecond, someone screenshots it and then accuses you of stream cheating, and that's the end of that.
It's true. It's true. I hate it when like I'm playing a ladder game and I have like a terrible draw and I like just lose really badly, and then the guy knows who I am and tweets at me. He's like, "Hey man, good game, really well played." And I'm like,
Oh.
"No, it wasn't."
I've gotten like 10 of those, man, where somebody beats
Oh,
me.
10. That's cute.
I've gotten so many of those. Somebody messaged me like, "Oh," they have like a screenshot from the game where they were killing me, and they're like, "That was a great game, dude. I'm so glad I played against you." And I'm like,
It's GG, well played, right?
Yeah, just type that and don't type anything else. It's a bad idea.
Yep, pretty much. So I want to move a little bit into talking more about like specific decks and things like that again. And we talked a little bit earlier about who's playing what, but we haven't heard from Artosis yet. What are you playing right now?
I've been playing a good amount of the Divine Paladin stuff. I've still been reworking my Shaman control quite a bit because I feel like that one. I feel like there isn't a deck that you have to make more hard decisions with, and that's just kind of what I like to do. Is with all the Overlord cards and like just the, I don't know. It's kind of neat the way it plays. So I've been really reworking that a lot lately. But other than that, I played a bunch of Warrior recently. Trying to do some of these. Like I tried that Warrior combo deck for a bit.
Oh,
that someone
yeah,
posted on the Hearthstone Reddit, and didn't have a huge amount of success with that, but Warrior is kind of fun. I played actually a couple cool Warrior decks. I got to talk to those people, and like Katz and Iagas, both the StarCraft pros, both had some pretty cool Warrior type decks. So I might play around with that a bit more. But I've been using a lot of Divine Paladin, which
Divine Paladin's so good right now.
let me tell you this combo that I have won infinity games with. It's, you know, the Sylvanas Windrunner? The thing that dies and it takes your creature? That with Redemption is the most hilarious thing that I have ever done. And I love it especially because coming back with 1 health is actually even better than having 5 health because you can die you can run into anything they have and die. So like
it's so good.
Yeah, that's
that
have
is
so
actually
much fun
so
with that
good.
combo.
I actually like pull my hair out when someone plays Tyrion Ford Ring. I actually don't have that card right now.
I love Tyrion. He's so great.
Is
pretty ridiculous.
I wasn't playing Paladin. Now that Paladin's like really good again, I'm like, I should have used my Arcane Dust on that instead of getting whatever funny card. I got like Nose Dorm instead because I thought it'd be funny. And I'm like,
You know it's really. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but yeah, Paladin decks are so strong right now, and that combo you're talking about, I've faced that before, and I'm just like, Oh, I guess I should leave the game.
What's
With that Sylvanas, like, I mean, you can just get control of so much stuff.
What's really funny about Divine Paladin is that it's seen like already like 2 meta shifts where I actually got to Masters day 1 of me getting into the beta with a Divine Paladin deck, just like made that and got through it. And then as
Yeah.
I was playing later on, it was it was a situation where other rush decks, which are really popular on the ladder at that point, could like outrush it because Divine Paladin's got a lot more strength in the mid game. And so then I switched to like a token deck, which could outrush it. But then everybody started switching back to control and then rogue decks. And then now Divine Shield is good again because there's a lot of decks on the ladder with that mid game vulnerability. So it's kind of seems like Divine Shield is one of those, and I think the Divine Shield decks out right now are obviously like a lot stronger than the ones that were out very early in the beta. But it's funny to see like how the meta shifts in relation to Divine Shield Paladin. I feel like now we're going to see more like rushing sort of beatdown decks on ladder because of that. And I think I've already seen a little bit of it in the last few days. People are getting a little bit more aggressive again.
Have you guys used any of these Murloc decks? Like some of these Murloc decks. Like they're basically an all-in rushdown deck, but like they can be pretty scary to deal with. I mean, since I play my Shaman deck mostly with Lightning Storm, I'm okay a lot of the time, but sometimes I just don't have the right cards, and I'm like, oh, like, well, he's buffing, they're all buffing each other, and I guess I lose.
I feel like Warlock and Druid are probably the strongest Murloc decks you can make right now. Hunter is pretty good too with secrets for board control, but it really feels like Druid and Warlock have enough of good clear, especially Warlock with all that card draw. Yeah.
I hate playing against these Murloc decks. I actually had the same guy 3 times in a row that was playing like basically like token Murloc with some Divine Shield in it. It was a Paladin deck. In 3 games in a row, I got through half my deck and didn't draw 1 Lightning Storm. Because 1 Lightning Storm actually just ruins Murloc's day.
Yeah.
But that's frustrating, man, when you don't get that. Because then they get all this stuff that's like +1, and you're like, oh.
I hear you. One of my, I think one of my favorite combos recently has been in my Divine Shield Paladin deck. I use Bloodsail Raider with the Sword of Justice.
Oh yeah,
which is
that's awesome.
Sword of Justice is the one that gives your creatures 1/1 when they come into play at the cost of 1 durability for the weapon, and then Bloodsail Raider gets plus attack based on the attack of your weapons. So essentially, if you play that, you're going to get a 4/4 for 2, and that's just a really strong combo.
In my deck, I actually normally try to get, I play like 2. What is it called? Sword of Truth or something like that. Truth's the one that gives you 2 life when you attack. That has 4 attack.
That's the True Silver Champion.
True Silver Champion.
Oh yeah,
I do that with the Bloodsail Raider a lot, and then you just have this 6/3. Well, I played the other one too, so either one is fine when you play it. But like,
I had an arena deck with 4 Arcanite Reapers, and I played Bloodsail Raiders in that. That was fun.
Oh yeah.
That was
I was
just
trying
beautiful.
that out with Warrior yesterday night. Actually, on the ladder is the Pirate Warrior combo. That's been something I've seen.
I use that.
Yeah, it's good.
Bit of the Pirate Warrior. Yeah. I have like that. I have like all the pirate cards. I have that parrot card too. So I have the. So basically, you have the legendary. I can't remember what his name is. Grimscale.
Greenskin. It's Captain Greenskin.
Oh,
he's
Captain
good.
Greenskin.
Like, he's legit good card.
So you put him out. You've got your weapon. You start putting out the taunt guys because your weapon like makes them down to 0. And you put every single weapon that warrior has in the deck with all the pirates, and then you have like a few cards that just synergize well with pirates. You can do well with it. I don't think it's like gonna work well in high masters, but it's definitely like whenever I have a warrior mission, I use that deck to get my gold.
Yeah, that can be pretty frustrating with like good weapons and that guy. Like you just kind of clear the board and.
Yeah, I've seen Greenskin with a Doomhammer, which is just horrible. It's like, I clear the board and I get 2 cards every turn. This is great.
Wow, that's good.
Horrible. I never thought about that actually.
The Captain's Parrot card, is that a card you get when you collect all the pirates?
Yeah, it's like the card where you get Gold Merc guy for all the Murlocs.
That's what I thought,
It's the same thing. You have to collect all the pirates. So basically, the hardest one to get is the legendary one, and then once you have him, you usually have them all.
That's the only one I'm missing right now. I'm looking at my cards, and I'm like, why don't I have that parrot yet?
I didn't know that even happened because I haven't screwed around with Murlocs or pirates very much yet.
Yeah. I'm
just
considering
happened to-
being my gold Millhouse Mana Storm just to get that Captain Greenskin card.
You got to disenchant those golds, man. I mean, that's what they're for.
Absolutely.
Those things are just arcane dust.
Yeah, I disenchant every gold card, especially because this is the beta. I think in their release, I'll be a little bit different about it. But for right now, I'm like, I don't care if they're gold or not. Like, I'm just gonna get the best cards.
Yeah,
Gold
I might just
cards
pick
don't
one
win
class to
games.
keep golds for, and then everything else I'll just DE.
Gold cards are kind of brilliant though, as a business strategy, because I find myself like looking through. I'm like, do I have 2 of this gold card yet, so I can replace my hexes or something? Like,
Yeah.
It's the old foil rares, you know.
yeah,
Yep.
you do want a pretty deck. I mean, there's
true.
all
I mean, if
sorts
I had a
of.
gold Ysera, I would never ever disenchant that, even in the beta. Like, that would just be cool, you know. Golden Ysera, drop it down.
Gold
How do I get
Jiraxxus,
golden
I'm told,
dream
makes
cards,
gold
though?
infernals.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
and golden, I think it's Onyxius, the one that like summons the board full.
Oh,
of,
golden whelps? Wow.
Yeah, golden. Yeah.
Damn.
Also, if you get
Golden
you know
Righteous.
certain effects, like if you have a golden card that gets like turned into a hex, like it still has the golden like effect
Yes,
around
Yeah,
the
it's a
card.
gold,
Yeah.
golden frog, a golden sheep, yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
The golden weapons actually look really cool too when they're sitting on your hero. Yeah. But I still disenchant them all. I
By
can't
the
help
way, have you
it.
guys gotten any hero to level 50? Because I haven't gotten. I mean, I'm like level 30 with a lot of mine, but
No.
I heard you get a new portrait. Has anyone seen that yet? Like
Have you?
by anybody? Like
Really?
you get a
Haven't
new
seen
portrait
that.
for your hero at level 50. What does that look like?
I have not heard of that.
Some people have hit level 50 for sure.
I'm 35 with my paladin right now. I should try to go for that.
I have.
Huh.
I'm pretty close to
Okay,
my
now you.
shaman.
My
I think.
shadow just told me you don't get anything. He has a couple level 50s.
Okay.
Oh really? Because it says
That
like
guy.
that you get that at level 50. A lot of people are saying, but I don't. I guess not.
Yeah, some people are saying they're coming, but they're not in yet.
Ah, okay.
And the annoying thing about that is, or I suppose the genius thing about that kind of stuff, is they could just keep adding new tiers of that shit. Oh, you have all gold? Now go for all diamond cards. And just keep going
true.
along and along and along. And you know some people will do it. You know they will.
At some point, they'll just like incorporate the 3D models from World of Warcraft that'll just like stand there on the
But-
game board when you get it. That'd be
You can't properly quit like you could quit Magic, like you'd sell all your Magic cards. But here, you disenchant everything. You're like, screw it, I'm done. But then you have all this dust. You're like, ah.
Well,
like
I could
you
start
can't
rebuilding
even,
a
like-
gold deck now. Oh, God.
you can't even like give your account away because it's connected to BattleNet. So
Yeah.
like, well, I guess I'm stuck playing Hearthstone forever.
Well, the
maybe
worst
I'm
thing they
battle
could possibly do is
not so
allow you
bad.
to grind for cards in WoW. That would be horrible.
They said recently, I believe, that they were gonna have like connections as far as quest rewards in WoW.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, you
I've-
mean like if
it's
you
out
play
there.
WoW, you get like a card or something like that?
Supposedly there will be connections. Yes, it would make sense.
They should do
That would
something in
be horrible.
StarCraft because I'm not going to play.
Welcome back to the world.
not
of
gonna play
Warcraft,
WoW,
Turtle
but-
Biscuit.
Oh, fuck.
If they like after a certain number of ladder wins, I get a card. Totally, yes.
You get like a card called Supply Block. You play it, your opponent like loses a mana crystal.
That'd be good.
I would love to see connections to other Blizzard games for it. That'd be so cool.
Maybe in a
Starcraft
cosmetic
especially.
way, you know?
Yeah,
but
it costs
money,
nothing
right,
that you
exactly.
have to play. I don't want to have to play WoW.
Like a reskin of a card. Maybe I can reskin all of a certain card as Jim Raynor or something. But it still counts as the last card, so it doesn't actually change the balance in any way.
Yeah, that would be good.
We'll see. That'd be interesting.
Well, if it changed the balance, that'd be hilarious. Like all the
Yeah.
StarCraft Hearthstone players are using like the Infestor decks, and like all the WoW players are using the Tauren decks or something like that.
Well, people
Yeah,
make like WoW guilds for StarCraft players that just want to like grind out these cards together. So they can play cards.
Wow.
I wonder
gonna
if
be-
like years down the road we'll have like a Space Stone Heroes of StarCraft game where we have like all sorts of StarCraft cards where you've got Marines and
They said they were
Fire
considering it.
Ghosts and they have
They
to be
could
considered, of course.
They could do like an expansion eventually, where it's like all
Yeah.
StarCraft stuff, or like a Diablo expansion or something.
Yeah,
like
why
that.
not? I'm just itching for that rock and roll racing deck. It'll be brilliant.
Oh, Lost Vikings all the way, man.
The Lost
It's,
Vikings.
it's actually a Blackthorn.
the hero
right?
power
That
is find a Viking.
Yeah.
Find a
Doesn't
Viking
make
in your
any
deck. Find a Viking in your deck. Play it.
Summon 2 more Vikings. Ugh.
I'm just thinking about the rock and roll racing cards now. That
What do you guys think is the weakest hero right now? Do you think it's Priest or is it Warrior or what do you
I
guys
feel
think?
like it's still Priest a little bit. Yeah, I think Warrior. Well, I don't know. Warrior and Priest are tied, but maybe Priest a little bit more now.
Interesting decks from both. People are getting better with the decks and making better decks, so there's still like some coolness to it. Like I've seen some really neat Priest stuff. I've seen some really neat Warrior stuff starting to pop out.
With the Mind Vision and stuff, like with Priest, the only time I lose to Priest generally is they play like good cards that aren't in their deck, but they're in my deck, and they get them from me with Mind Vision and stuff, and that's always like, a little bit weird. But every time I hit a Priest on the ladder, I'm just like, oh, I guess pre-win. Like that's how I think about it, and I like never lose most of the time. So
I gotta say,
it's interesting you should say that. Because on Arena, like running into a Priest is mostly a free win, except when they have, I have 6 Mind Visions or whatever in my deck, and then they play your Illidan and murder you. But I'm quite surprised that you don't consider Priest to be kind of awesome and constructed, because all the gimmicks you need to survive, like say Shadow Form or Alchemy Soul Priest and 2 Mind Controls, things like that, you can have in your constructed deck, but you still don't think they're that good?
It hasn't been working quite yet. Like, I have a Priest deck I can play at 3-star Master, but it's like... I feel like if you take Rogue out of the equation, maybe I'm winning 50% or something like that. It's just, like, not quite where I feel like I should be at with the deck if it was actually as good as, like, my Shaman deck or something. It's, like, it's actually really interesting, very fun. It's just the damn hero power. The early game is so useless for the Priest.
Yeah, you can't do shit.
Yeah,
totally.
and that's like way too annoying. That you
Priests
can't
need to be able to go up to like 40 health or something like that, and just have the ability to use that power early on. I've got a.
I mean, you could change the Priest to where it does have like 40 starting health or something, or 35.
It seems too inconsistent though, doesn't it? Though it seems like if they want to stick with their design philosophy, they've got to just change that hero power and not do something gimmicky with it, like you can go up to 40. Because that just becomes this weird kind of armor type, and it's just too similar. I mean, it already is kind of too similar, isn't it? They got to do something with it.
It's like Warrior and Priest. It's which one is really better. I mean, Warrior you can go above 30 in effective health technically, but
what about
you can't help your minions, and Priest you can't
go
above
like something like if you heal your Priest, like you heal your hero, it's like your hero power is heal too. If you heal yourself when you're at full health, you get 1 armor or something like that. Like I guess they could maybe do something like that where you kind of get like something out of it.
Yeah.
I
don't know. But then that would just be like a bad druid ability. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the Priest and Warrior definitely need a little bit of work, but yeah. Well, guys, I think we've had an awesome conversation about Hearthstone today.
I think so. This is
like
very fun today. Very fun.
Oh, totally. But like all good things, they have to come to an end. Our 30 health has been expended. So we're going to do some shout-outs. Total
quick,
Biscuit.
Someone play Traxxas.
Let's like someone play, quick. Malagos. Oh no, that's the spell power one, never mind. Total Biscuit. Shout it out.
Thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Please do go check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/cynicalbrit for all my main stuff, my StarCraft stuff, which we'll have some new things on it soon. I'll be casting an event soon. Can't tell you which one, but that's going to be happening, so that's always cool. Go check that out over at youtube.com/totalbiscuit. My main channel has a daily Hearthstone Arena series. I would not expect pro plays. I would expect the opposite. And if that's what you're looking for, go for it. And you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/totalbiscuit. And my stream is at twitch.tv/totalbiscuit.
Cool. Wolf, you're up.
It's my turn. You guys can, as always, follow me on Twitter at ProxyWolf. Tweet at me, whatever you want to hear about. I have a Tumblr, which is proxywolf.tumblr.com, where you can ask me anything. People always ask me like really long questions on Twitter I can't answer, so I get a lot of questions about living in Korea and stuff like that. So if you want to ask me anything, go there. I check it pretty much every day and answer questions periodically. Twitch, if you follow me on Twitch, Wolf_Schroeder. I've been streaming a lot of Hearthstone recently. Mostly arena stuff, but sometimes also constructed decks. And that about does it for me.
Cool. Dan, I see your Artosis. I see your TTE sports shirt. What else? What else you got?
TTE Sports, my sponsors, they're awesome. Check out their stuff. Also, I Buy Power, another sponsor. That's what I'm on right now. It's how I get on the internet. And also, I have an episode of Meta tonight. If you are just a Hearthstone guy, make sure to go watch Meta and StarCraft, because Hearthstone is a fantastic game, but StarCraft is the best game there ever was, or never will be. So I have an actual European episode, my first European episode tonight. Insane good lineup. It's going to be Rhett, TLO, and Hearthstone joining me. And that's actually in 9 hours. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a little bit different than the normal. So definitely check that out. And let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, Turn 2 is going to be each week. It's going to be awesome. We might move the time slot by like an hour. And also, oh yes, we finally just launched the site, iHearthYou.com.
Oh, that's up now.
It's like I Heart You, but it's I Hearth You. Yes, it's been on the bottom right of our overlay this whole time. But
oh, okay.
Basically, we're just making a little community site.
Good.
There's no, we're like writing a bunch of guides and stuff. We're gonna have a forum up there really, really soon, like in a few days, I think. So, big cheers to that. Big cheers to Simpatico for producing and Eric Dodds for coming on. Everything is fantastic and wonderful. And Doa,
awesome.
aren't you? Do yours.
All right. Yeah, well, no OGN stuff going right now. We've kind of got the off season until next month. But when that happens, definitely check out all the casting that I do for OnGameNet here in Korea. Plenty of links in the future for that. For now, just follow my Twitter, I guess, GGDoa, and then my Twitch channel is also GGDoa. And I'll be streaming a lot more Hearthstone in the future. Been kind of busy this week, but going to get back into that hopefully very, very soon. So that's about it for me. So I guess that means that's about it for the show. So yeah, thanks again to Wolf and Total Biscuit for coming on. Thanks to Artosis for being a great co-host as always. And we will see you guys next week on Turn2. Definitely check out the website, iHearthYou.com. It's in beta right now, but just like the Hearthstone beta, it kicks a ton of ass. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.